knows how to show love to our everyday heroes. So if you're a first responder, you are in for some perks. Lots of hotels and casino offer big discounts to any first responders who can show valid work or volunteer ID. So treat yourself to a discounted stay. You deserve it. See you in Las Vegas. Let's get lucky.
The Warriors' future was uncertain. Are they going to break it up? Steve Kerr coming back. They get Jimmy Butler, and they surge all the way through, and now they're through the first round.
The Warriors have guys, because of how special their star three trio is, they can make the guys around them better, and they can elevate the way that they play. And we saw that. Steph Curry, 3 points in the first half, steps up in the second half, 19 points in the second half to carry them home.
Newswire. Only on SportsGrid.
Under him was Sharon Moore, who also participated in the cheating scandal with Connor Stallions. So you know what happens to him? He doesn't lose his job. He doesn't get a 10-year show cause. He gets to keep his job, and they go, we're just going to suspend you for 2 games next season.
Now, all of a sudden, they're coming out with everything that we knew to be pretty much true when it was happening. Yeah, they were cheating. It was like Belichick and the videotapes, right?
The Early Line. Only on SportsGrid. The game is on. The stakes are high. But the action isn't just on the field.
He's rearranging that ring. Get it inside!
SportsGrid's in-game live. Your ultimate second screen experience.
A little flyer, couple of
15.5-point live line.
Every prop, every play, every day.
Anything can happen. That's complete chaos.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
And welcome in, a very happy Friday to you now. Here we are, May the 16th, and we are getting ready for, well, Elimination Friday. That's what we've got both in the NBA and the NHL playoffs here tonight, as 2 teams looking to advance to their conference finals, while those other 2 teams looking to extend their seasons, as the New York Knicks we'll kick it all off coming up 8 o'clock Eastern here tonight. You'll see the Knicks at the Garden in what is really the biggest game that we have seen at Madison Square Garden a very, very long time for the New York Knicks. They have an opportunity to do something they have not done in a very, very long time, and that is make it to a conference final with an opportunity to make it to the big dance, an opportunity for a world championship. Now, can they? Will they? Is that something that is actually feasible? Well, they're going to have to bounce back after what was just a absolutely embarrassing and miserable performance by them in Boston in that Game 5. Now, some will say the New York Knicks, well, they're dealing with all the stress right now. All the pressure is on them. And to a certain degree, that is correct. But they are playing at home. They know they can beat this team. And they also know this team does not have their best player available to them. And their second best player, if we're being honest, hasn't looked like himself for 2 months, and that being, of course, Porzingis. Looks like a hot mess. Not that Luke Cornett didn't do a great job filling in, but come on. Porzingis, if Porzingis was the Porzingis that we all know, and he was healthy, this series probably is over whether Tatum's playing or not. But now that the Knicks have had an opportunity to see them play, the line sitting at 2.5, all right, let's see what Thibs and Jalen Brunson and Cat. Listen, you got to beat the champs if you want to be the champs, right? So the Knicks tonight are going to have an opportunity to prove everybody wrong, all the doubters, get past the world champion Celtics, and give themselves an opportunity against the Indiana Pacers to represent the Eastern Conference in the finals. A lot going on with that game we'll talk about coming up. And then in the NHL, game number 6 The champion Florida Panthers now have the upper hand as they are up 3-2 on the Toronto Maple Leafs after absolutely embarrassing them in Toronto in Game 5. Boy, that was about as ugly as it comes. But the Panthers, much like they did last year, appear to be getting better as the series and the playoffs continue to roll on. It's exactly what they did last year. It's exactly what they're doing right now. They know Carolina, who, again, they had to beat last year on their way to a Stanley Cup championship in the playoffs. Well, Carolina's waiting as they handled business last night against the Washington Capitals. The Panthers, I am sure, have absolutely no interest in getting this thing to a Game 7. So, huge opportunity for the Panthers, who are on repeat mode. Can they? Will they? It's the 15th game of the postseason that we have an opportunity of a team eliminating another team. And what we have basically is 14 of those 15 games so far this postseason with elimination opportunities there. Yeah, the winning team has won by more than one goal. So we have seen at least by 2 or more goals in these elimination games. The team that wins it, yeah, they tend to win it by more than just 1 goal. So does that mean the Florida Panthers and the laying the 1.5 is a good bet? Or if you like Toronto, does it mean jumping on Toronto and you lay a 1.5 goals? And I think that's probably close to plus 450, 460, somewhere in that ballpark. History tells us here this season that, yeah, the winning team in these elimination games, not going to be a nail biter, not going to overtime. It is simply going to be a 2 or more goal victory. The question is, which team will have that victory here tonight? Does it go back to Toronto for a Game 7? Does it go back to Boston for a Game 7 in the NBA? Going to be a heck of a night here this Friday night shaping up. And not to mention, it is interleague weekend here in Major League Baseball. 15 games on tap tonight. We've had 1 in the books already as the Battle of Chicago. We had the White Sox and the Cubs earlier today. 13-3 wasn't much of a game as the Cubs ended up handling business. We have the Battle of Ohio going on right now, as well as the Cleveland Guardians and Tanner Beebe taking on the Cincinnati Reds and Brady Singer. Cincinnati opened that game quick, 5 runs, but they've closed the gap, the Guardians now, 5-3. The Reds are on top in that game, and they are in the bottom of the 5th. You're going to have Washington, Baltimore. Are you sensing a theme here? How about the Mets versus the Yankees? No? Have I gotten a thing? Okay. We're talking rivalries here, folks. That's what we've got coming up here tonight. And, of course, none bigger in New York than the Yankees versus the Mets. More so than the Rangers versus the Islanders or the Knicks versus themselves. I kid. But the reality is the Mets and the Yankees, 2 teams with some of the best records in both the American and National League and Major League Baseball. Former all-star in Juan Soto switching uniforms from the Yankees a year ago as they went to the World Series to lose to the Dodgers. Now he's wearing a Mets uniform, coming back to the Bronx. Should be a whole lot of fun. Rodon on the mound for the Yankees. Tyler McGill on the mound for the Mets. The Yankees, no shock, a bit of a favorite, minus 140, minus 145. That total hovering around 9. And if pitching is what you're interested in, not quite sure of the rivalry here, but Atlanta taking on Boston is interesting tonight, given the fact that Chris Sale, former Boston Red Sox left-handed strikeout artist, taking on, well, the Boston Red Sox and Garrett Crochet, the latest addition to the rotation here for the Red Sox. Boy, this should be a good one. Total hovering around 8. And the Red Sox as a slight home favorite in this one, although I've seen nothing but Atlanta money coming in all day. This opened up Boston minus 130, 135, and we've seen nothing but Atlanta money, this is down to minus 110 at best in the market. So that should be a good one. And then you go down to Battle of Florida, too, as well, which has been as one-sided as we have seen. The Tampa Bay Rays have dominated the Marlins over the last 5 years. Will that continue as Taj Bradley on the mound for Tampa? Miami sending out Max Meyer, who apparently loves to give up home runs now. It's been a rough stretch for him. Can he right the ship there with the Marlins at home tonight? We got a ton going on, as you can tell here tonight. Not to mention it is Preakness weekend. And how about a major championship underway here, round 2 at the PGA Championship? Yes, Scotty Scheffler's lurking. He's hanging around. We'll give you all the latest information, see if there's any 1 or 2 players we should be looking at as Game Time Decisions continues on the grid.
Enter into the magical world of McLuck.com, where even the smallest of spins can win real cash prizes. Adventure into over 1,000 of the best Vegas-style slot games. So what are you waiting for? Unlock your free welcome offer today. Join the fun where winners play and players win.
Two guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take.
Ka-ching! Why? Because of parity.
I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results.
What? How do you do this one?
Oh, Donnie, you've got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. I want this to be the place that people come to. There is going to be an energy to Game Time Decisions that you will feel night in and night out. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune in to Game Time Decisions weekdays on SportsGrid.
The game is on. The stakes are high. But the action isn't just on the field.
He's rearranging that roof. Get it inside!
SportsGrid's in-game live. Your ultimate second screen experience.
A little flyer, couple of 15.5-point live line.
Every prop, every play, every day.
Anything can happen. That's complete chaos.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
Did you know sportsbooks tend to draw up tighter bet lines for events that get even more bettors, like championship games or major matchups? My tip? Try betting on less popular sports. You might have a better shot at beating those odds. Now, go get lucky. See you in Las Vegas. Let's get lucky.
All right, welcome back in Game Time Decisions here on this Friday, and we are getting ready for a epic night. You gotta love what the playoffs and the urgency bring to us here this time of year, as elimination night both in the NBA and in the NHL is the defending champ Boston Celtics trying to get it to a Game 7 back in their building at Madison Square Garden here tonight, taking on the New York Knicks. What a game this is going to be. Do they have enough left in the tank to be able to get it done? We'll see. 2.5 is what that line is holding strong as. The Knicks, just a slight favorite at home in an all-important Game 6. And same thing in the NHL with their defending champion Florida Panthers. Well, they too have a elimination opportunity taking on the Toronto Maple Leafs in this one. So they have no intention of wanting to go back to Toronto for a Game 7. In both instances, everybody kind of knows who they're playing here, as the Indiana Pacers are waiting to see how this game ends up here tonight. Will they have to sit back and wait for a Game 7? Will they be getting ready for the New York Knicks and the Carolina Panthers? They handled business last night in the NHL against Washington. That's who awaits the winner of this Panthers and Toronto series. So some teams just sitting back, waiting, relaxing, getting healthy, just waiting to see who it is they're going to play, while the rest of us, well, there is nothing like the playoffs and elimination opportunities here. I did mention also the second major of the year on the PGA Tour is currently underway here, round 2 at Quail Hollow. What a round this has been, as your first round leader, Jonathan Vegas, has, well, he didn't do a whole heck of a lot here today, but he didn't hurt himself. He was 1 under, shot a 70 after shooting 64 yesterday, and he remains your leader, and it's going to be like that as they head into the weekend. 8 under par right now. The projected cut, +1. Some of the guys that were close to that line but have had pretty good days, Rory McIlroy was 3 over yesterday. He's got it back to even par there. And, of course, Scotty Scheffler is lurking 5 under par at the 18th, just 3 shots off the lead. We'll have more on that coming up next hour. But let's welcome in our good friend, Mr. George Kurtz, ready on an elimination Friday here. George, we got a Game 6 down the road for me here tonight, as the Panthers welcoming in Toronto. And my goodness, where do you go? If you're Toronto, where do you go from here? And it's funny, George, because I'm watching Florida get better and stronger as the postseason progresses. They did the same thing last year too. And then I'm continuing to watch Toronto just get worse as this series continues to progress here. So what gives here in a Game 6? Is it over tonight? Did the Panthers advance?
Yes. All right. In a short way, yes. I think they do. You're going to have a party down the block from you. Well, I think this series ended when it was 2-0 Toronto in Game 3, and Florida scored the goal. That was it. Series ended. They seemed to give up from that point forward, right? They blew that lead, lost Game 4, good, decent Game 4, lost 2-0, competitive. Didn't show up at home in Game 5. What the hell? I mean, now it's just, I mean, come on. The fans think it's over, right? I mean, the media thinks it's over. They were asking Mitch Marner yesterday, hey, have you played your last game in Toronto? Wow. So they don't think it's even going back for Game 7, more or less winning the series here. This is what Toronto's problem has been year in, year out, right? They have great players, Marner, Nylander, Matthews. And Joe, I'm the first person to tell you, I think we're going to find out when Toronto is eliminated that Matthews has a torn ligament in his wrist or some kind of nerve damage there, and that's why he's having problems. So he's got an excuse. Fans aren't going to want to hear it, mind you, because this happens every year, but I think we'll hear that. But we're not seeing – they don't pick up their game. It's the same Toronto team we see year in, year out. They just don't pick up their game. And you said it, Florida's getting better and better. Listen, I don't think Matthew Tkachuk is completely healthy either. All right, I think he's still battling with whatever he was battling coming into the playoffs here. But they're getting better. Toronto seems to be getting worse. All right, and all the pressure's on. It's amazing. Florida's the defending champions, right? But all the pressure's on Toronto. Florida's got nothing. And now I think it ends here. I guess the good news is, as last night when we talked about this, it was minus 240. It's down to minus 220 now. So if you did want to bet, you're saving 20 cents here. But listen, there's plenty of parlays with baseball games tonight. All right, there's a lot of blowout baseball games going to happen tonight here. So you can easily find a parlay there with the Florida Panthers and a baseball game tonight. Or just take the Panthers on the goal line. I think they'll win by more than one.
I was just going to say, George, fifth this will be. There's been 14 so far. Elimination opportunities so far in the playoffs. And yeah, they're 14 for 14 have been decided by 2 or more goals. So whoever you think is going to win by more than a goal. I don't see it going too crazy overtime. The goaltending, there's a miles apart between these two teams. and what's happening right now. So if you like Florida, lay it with the 1.5. I wouldn't be afraid of that at all. Carolina handed business last night, though, Kurtz. It's going to be an interesting series. If it is the Panthers and Carolina, how long's that series go, you think?
It'll be a grinded out series, right? Two similar teams, although it's Florida, I think, has the more talent than Carolina, but two similar teams. Carolina plays very simple hockey. Get the puck in the zone, throw it at the net. All right, we don't care where the shots are coming from. Throw it at the net. Crash the net, go for rebound, screen the goalie, everything. And we'll play. You're playing street hockey, that sort of thing. They both. Florida's a tougher team. They'll bang you in the corners, that sort of thing. Drag the series out. I think they'll be lower scoring games. I've told you many times here. I think Florida's the best team in the East. I have them to represent the conference, so I think they'd win the series. I think it would be a long series. I would say at least 6, if not 7. I would probably take Florida in 6.
You buying Winnipeg getting it to a Game 7, or is it over in Dow? You ain't buying that at all. Yeah, I didn't think so.
They've lost 8 straight road games. No, listen, played a great game last night. I'm the first person to tell you they've probably been the better team in the last 5 periods. I just don't think they're going to win Game 6 in Dallas. I don't think they're going to feel the pressure. Only chance they have, though, they have to score the first goal.
Isn't it what they say, right? The 9th chance is gold. It's unbelievable. Stay there, Joe. We'll talk some Major League Baseball's Game Time Decisions continues on the grid.
Your college performance does not relate to the National Football League. It never does.
They played side by side with each other, and he wasn't as good as Quinn Ewers. That's an issue. That's a major issue.
It wasn't that it wasn't as good as Quinn Ewers.
Ever got to Texas.
It wasn't that it wasn't as good as Quinn Ewers. It was Quinn Ewers' program, which Steve Sarkisian made very clear the entirety of the time that Arch Manning was in Austin. So for you to argue that because Ewers is a 7th-round pick, Arch Manning is not that good and not deserving of being first overall is asinine. It is wrong. It is incorrect.
He's going to be number 1 overall. My whole thing was I'm buying
you're doing your thing now where you double down on a take that is incorrect.
The best quarterback prospect to ever hit college football can't play.
He's
over
not
a 7th-round pick
There were 2
who didn't even play good
quarterback recruits in the history of the sport.
Quinn Ewers couldn't even play at Ohio State. He couldn't even play at Ohio State.
Quinn Ewers. Go look it up.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. I want this to be the place that people come to. There is going to be an energy to Game Time Decisions that you will feel night in and night out. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune in to Game Time Decisions weekdays on SportsGrid.
All right, welcome back in Game Time Decisions here on a Friday. Joe Raineri joined again by our good friend George Kurtz. And George, coming up here within the next 10 minutes or so, we've got a great slate of interleague matchups here, kind of city rivalries. And we've got a pretty good one in the Bronx as the Yankees getting ready to take on the New York Mets here. Rodon versus McGill in this one, the ace of the Yankees, Rodon, who's been out of his mind, but they're coming back from that West Coast trip here. Do we like the Yankees to hold serve in the opening game?
I do not like the Yankees to hold serve tonight. I mean, you and I were talking during the break here. First game back from the West Coast trip can be a little problemsome. They did have yesterday off. The Mets generally do take these games a little bit more, or they want to win more than the Yankees maybe do here. Yankees didn't hit all that well in the last 2 games in Seattle, right? They pretty much got shut down. So I think that sort of continues here. I think the Mets are going to win the, what do I call it, low-scoring game, like 4-2, 5-3, something like that here. So I'm on the Mets. I'm going to take the plus money with the Mets here, and I'm on the under. Feel a little bit better about the under. And the question we're all going to ask is, does Soto hit a home run tonight? All right. People keep asking me, by the way, how are the Yankee fans going to treat Soto? How the hell do you think they're going to treat him? They're going to boo him. Of course they're going to boo him.
Of course.
Yankee fans. It's what they do. They're going to boo him. Listen, he took the most money, went to the Mets. The Yankees made him a very good contract, but he took the most money in the end here. And as I keep saying, by the way, the Yankee fans should be very happy he did that. Because if they signed Soto for, $750 million, they wouldn't have Max Fried. And this season would already be over in that case.
Yep, so true. It's going to be interesting, and I think they're going to set the tone early in that one there. Same thing, by the way, a couple of interesting pitching matchups. How about the Battle of Missouri here? As you got Kansas taking on St. Louis, Reagans versus Palante. This feels like a pretty good pitcher's battle with 2 of the hottest teams in baseball here coming into this game.
Yeah, Palante's been a pleasant surprise. I think the St. Louis Cardinals as a whole have been a surprise. Right? We didn't expect much from them this season. Some were picking them even last in their division. The youngsters have played well, right? The kids that they have there, who they've been waiting for, but they played well. Minus 158, plus 134 here. If it was anybody but Ragans on the mound tonight, I would probably go with Palante in St. Louis. But at home, I mentioned the Battle of Missouri, whatever they call it, I can't even think of what the name is for this series here. But I'm going to go with Kansas City. I know a small play on Kansas City. I'll lay the minus 158. It's just below my threshold of minus 160.
This feels like a pretty good under as well in this one here. How about Flaherty taking on Francis there? Detroit taking on Toronto in Toronto. And Detroit is the slight favorite in this one.
Yeah, they're minus 118 on my board here. Toronto, I mean, they didn't play all that well against the Rays here, and the Rays were without Yandy Diaz. You would think without Diaz alone, you would think Toronto would have the advantage. This team just can't seem to get it together. They just can't. I don't feel great about Flaherty. Listen, I think the Tigers win the game, but I'm not taking it. But I think the Tigers do win. I do feel a little bit better about the over. The problem is you're laying it. Minus 122 here. But I think that's the play here. Take the over in this game here. But I don't love laying that much juice on a total.
So I don't get it. So why is Baltimore a favorite in any game at this point here, much less against the Nats, who are throwing one of their best lefties? And last I checked, Baltimore can't hit lefties here, Kurtz. What's going on?
Baltimore can't hit anybody. All right, there are a lot of problems on offense. We thought their issue coming into the season would be the pitching, right? Because Burns left here. You don't have an ace. The pitching's been okay. Not great, but it's been okay. But the hitting has disappeared. I mean, I don't know what the problem is there. They were hitting good early on. Then once Gunnar Henderson came back, and he's been okay, the hitting has just dried up here. I agree with you. I think it's one of my better plays tonight. Take the Washington Nationals, take the plus money. It's plus 102 now. I think you lost about a nickel from a couple of hours ago here. So take the Nats. Gore has pitched generally well. This game isn't a rain delay, so we got to be a little careful about that. Because for all we know, they're going to start this game. They're going to have another delay in 3 innings, and we're going to lose the starting pitchers. That's always a little scary when you think about games that are starting off in a delay or a game that has weather problems.
Crochet versus Sale in Boston. You liking an under in this one?
Absolutely. Sale may not be winning games, but he's not letting up runs either. Braves just can't hit. And I think he will. I think Sale will calm down the Red Sox offense here. So, yes, I do like the under in this game. And listen, you're not even paying for it. Minus 106. And I got it 8.5 earlier. All right. So, right now it's at 8. So, the under is the play.
And you think Minnesota finally gets their winning streak snapped here tonight against Milwaukee?
No Buxton, no Correa, both out of the lineup after that collision yesterday. They're both being checked for a concussion here. Listen, you lose 2 of your better players. I mean, I got to assume they're going to have that streak snapped here. So give me the Brewers here. We've been playing okay.
Appreciate it, George. As always, Game Time Decisions. Another hour straight ahead here on the grid.
your college performance does not relate to the National Football League. It never
they
does.
Played side by side with each other, and he wasn't as good as Quinn Ewers. That's an issue. That's a major issue.
It wasn't that it wasn't as good as Quinn Ewers.
Ever got to Texas.
It wasn't that it wasn't as good as Quinn Ewers. It was Quinn Ewers' program, which Steve Sarkisian made very clear the entirety of the time that Arch Manning was in Austin. So for you to argue that because Ewers is a 7th-round pick, Arch Manning is not that good and not deserving of being first overall is asinine. It is wrong. It is incorrect.
He's going to be number 1 overall. My whole thing was I'm buying
you're doing your thing now where you double down on a take that is incorrect.
The best quarterback prospect to ever hit college football can't play
He's
over
not
a 7th-round pick.
There were 2 perfectly rated quarterback recruits in the history of the sport.
Quinn Ewers couldn't even play at Ohio State. He couldn't even play at Ohio State.
Quinn Ewers. Go look it up.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. I want this to be the place that people come to. There is going to be an energy to Game Time Decisions that you will feel night in and night out. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune in to Game Time Decisions weekdays on SportsGrid.
All right, welcome in. Happy Friday to you as we are getting ready for a loaded slate, not just tonight, but of course, heading into the weekend. Already one Game 7 set up in the NBA tomorrow. Could there be, well, a second one this weekend? We're going to find out in about an hour as the New York Knicks are going to try to close out the Boston Celtics. We'll have a lot on that game coming up, but nothing like a elimination opportunity here for the defending champs, the Florida Panthers at home. And boy, oh boy, Toronto got to figure it out in a hurry if they're going to get it back for a Game 7. Love this as well. I'm Joe Raineri. Want to welcome in our good friend Josh Inglis from Covers.com, who I believe you and we were here on Wednesday. And we said, all right, well, we like Toronto at home. We think it's going to be a close one here. And here we go again. Wasn't close. The fans were booing. It's gone from bad to worse for Toronto. Is tonight the night they finally figure it out?
I don't know what gives us the feeling that we think it is tonight. That was maybe the worst professional performance I've ever seen in hockey. 6-1 doesn't even do it justice in what it was. It was such a beatdown in the first period. Toronto had maybe 2 chances. They didn't even have an offensive zone faceoff. I think it was 17-0 in terms, and it was just Toronto in their own end. Faceoff after faceoff. Wool just kind of holding the fort until he wasn't, and then you're like, okay, a little ugly after the first period. Show a little fight. You showed nothing in the first period. Come out and show something. You're at home. It's midweek. It's 2-2. You still got home ice advantage. Show something. Second period, even worse. Embarrassing performance from the Leafs. And it's not just Leafs fans who are saying it. You saw it on the TNT broadcast. You had Chris Pronger absolutely vilifying them. You had guys like Mark Messier vilifying them. PK Subban calling it embarrassing. One thing that's really difficult is to get professional athletes who play that sport, especially hockey players, to go out and say those things about a performance, because they choose their words wisely when it comes to throwing other players under the bus. And they did not mince their words at all, especially after that game. So fans are broken, absolutely broken. We don't expect much today. We really don't. And that's probably where you'll see the Leafs do the best Leafs that they can, to go from that to nothing. $195 is a gigantic price for an NHL hockey game, for a playoff hockey game. For Game 6, $195, it was the same as Game 3. Game 3, where Toronto had two goal leads and couldn't hold on, could have taken a 3-0 series lead. Instead, they lose in overtime. They got Bobrovsky out of nowhere, who was playing terribly. Now he's on fire. He looks great. Should have had the shutout in Game 5. And outside of that, it's going to be a grind for Toronto, who doesn't get last change on the road here and has got nothing from their captain. The highest paid player in the entire sport has 10 games in his career in the second round, has 0 goals. He has 3 goals over the last 23 postseason games. He is an absolute ghost right now. And I was doing my show today with former Leaf Carlo Koliakovo, and he's like, as a team in the Leafs, you can't even ask these guys right now to contribute. If they contribute, that's a bonus. That's how bad it is. You're talking about 2 of the best players in the world, Mitch Marner and Austin Matthews, and you can't even count on them to contribute anything. That's where the struggle is here. Plus 195, back to the betting thing, is quite long. We see guys like Willie Nylander step up into these spots because he has the best skill set. He's got the wheels. He can get his shots away. I do like his alt shot over 4 because I think the Matthews line just can't do anything with no ice. Marner's just a guy who hates contact, so he's not doing anything with the puck. You can stack those. You got Mitch Marner under points at big plus money. Matthews under points at big plus money. They've just no-shown in game 5, 6, and 7 over their entire career. This is year 9 of Matthews, and we've seen nothing exciting. Nothing past the second round. Kind of an embarrassing franchise in that terms, but put them together. The understack. You might, if you're going to take one, put them together. You're not going to see a lot of power play time because it's late in the series. Put them together. You can get around plus 400 for the understack. And on the other side, I'm going to go with a little price side of plus 160 for Listerainen here, who's playing on the best line in Florida with Brad Marchand and Anton Lundell. Listerainen doesn't play any power play time, but like I said, game 6 whistles will be away, so it's going to be a lot more 5-on-5 time. And right now, Florida's running 3 lines, and that's their best line.
17 different guys have scored in the playoffs. It's just absolutely unbelievable here. Also, I saw the Toronto team total 2.5, and it's plus money to the over.
Yes.
So are they winning with 3 goals? If they win, what's the score? Let's go. Let's reverse engineer it here, Josh.
I don't think they have the 3-1. Exactly. I don't think they have the 3-1. If you're going to look at that, just go get the money line at 195 because I don't think a 3-1 game is in their cards. Joseph Woll's been incredibly small in his net. Yes, he's been asked to do a lot, and he's made some big saves, but it's just relentless, and sooner or later the dam breaks. Toronto just doesn't have it in them right now, and I don't think they have that closeout game where they can go. So it's either the 3.5 where they get the empty net where it's somewhere around that 3 goal and they bury that empty netter, or that 195 is such a big price in terms of where you want it. You were mentioning 17 skaters, 23 skaters in this series have more goals than Austin Matthews, who was the leader in goals last year and is the highest paid player in the sport. Make it make sense, Joe.
Yeah, and I think we'll find out shortly, too. He's either got a broken wrist or something's going to happen. Something happened to him in that Ottawa series.
Are constantly hurt. I don't care if he doesn't have an arm. You're there or you're not. You have every opportunity to do something with that, and you're getting your 22 minutes. There's no excuse now. It doesn't matter. Hockey players play banged up all the time. I don't want to hear how hurt he is or if he has to go get major surgery. It's not going to take away from another bad performance because last year, same thing. Was he hurt last year? No, he stunk it up then too.
It's going to be interesting. Dropping the puck coming up in an hour. Are you buying we get a game 7, Dallas and Winnipeg, or do you think it's over there tomorrow as well?
Hellebuyck hasn't shown us he can win a game on the road. That's it.
Crazy.
Winnipeg has to win on the road. That's all they have to do. But they can't. I don't. It's one of those things. You're like, okay, yeah, maybe a trend. They have to win 1 game on the road. No, they don't. They really don't.
Nope.
Dallas is the best roster in the entire playoffs right now. Better than Florida's, I believe. Everything from top to bottom, from first line to fourth line. They got Heiskanen back. I mean, Thomas Harley has become one of the best defensemen in hockey out of nowhere. And that home ice, bro, I would love a team that shows up at home and gets fired up. Those Dallas games look absolutely insane to be at. Great crowd, great energy, and they can feed off them. Winnipeg's, Connor Hellebuyck is
crazy.
Just fighting demons.
It's crazy. And it's not, the guy is when he's on, he's one of the best goaltenders in the game, but whatever it is in the postseason, he can't win away from home.
He's the Toronto Maple Leafs. He's the Toronto Maple Leafs of goaltending, Joe. That's exactly what he is.
So true. It's rinse and repeat, and we do it every year. And what's the definition of insanity, Josh? We just keep betting the same thing over and over and expect a different outcome.
No, it's not.
I love it. Josh Inglis, mancovers.com, brother. We appreciate the time, man. Should be a fun one. Plenty of hockey left to go here. We still got to get a couple of conference champions out of this when it's all said and done. We look forward to hearing what you've got to say when we get there. Game time decisions, though. We got some NBA. We'll talk it next here on The Grid.
Enter into the magical world of McLuck.com, where even the smallest of spins can win real cash prizes. Adventure into over 1,000 of the best Vegas-style slot games. So what are you waiting for? Unlock your free welcome offer today. Join the fun where winners play and players win.
Two guys that can do it all.
It's too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take.
Ka-ching!
Why? Because of parity.
I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results.
What? How do you do this one?
Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. I want this to be the place that people come to. There is going to be an energy to Game Time Decisions that you will feel night in and night out. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune in to Game Time Decisions weekdays on SportsGrid.
The game is on. The stakes are high. But the action isn't just on the field.
He's rearranging that roof. Get it inside!
SportsGrid's in-game live. Your ultimate second screen experience.
A little flyer, couple of 15.5-point live line.
Every prop, every play, every day.
Anything can happen. It's complete chaos.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
Did you know sportsbooks tend to draw up tighter bet lines for events that get even more bettors, like championship games or major matchups? My tip, try betting on less popular sports. You might have a better shot at beating those odds. Now, go get lucky. See you in Las Vegas. Let's get lucky.
All right, welcome back in Game Time Decisions on this Friday as we are getting ready. Gotta love it. So much going on this time of year. We've got another of the Triple Crown races coming out tomorrow. The Preakness, always fun there. A lot going on there. Make sure you guys come by and join us again tomorrow. We'll have in-game live game day all day long covering everything. Great interleague baseball tonight. We just talked with Josh Inglis of Covers.com about Game 6 tonight in the NHL Stanley Cup playoffs. But let's talk about another Game 6. Going to tip off here in the top of the hour at Madison Square Garden. Let's bring in our good friend Adam Kaufman here, who you and I on Wednesday were talking Game 5. And we said there are a few things that need to happen if Boston is going to get this done. And sure enough, the dead cat bounce, alive and well. They got more out of Cornette than they ever thought they would. Pritchard shows up, and here we are in a game 6. But does it last, though? Do they have enough in the tank to be able to pull the rabbit out of the hat for a game 7, you think?
So I'll tell you this, and I said this with you a couple of days ago. My feeling was they were going to, call it the dead cat bounce, call it the fallen hero theory, whatever it was. First game, no Jason Tatum. My feeling was back home, season on the line, backs against the wall, all that stuff. Yeah, they were going to go out and win that game, but I also said in the same breath, but then they go to MSG, the Mecca, on Friday, and they wind up losing game 6. But I'll tell you what, they were so much better in that game 5. Just in terms of, obviously the shooting was great, and that, has been a little hit and miss during this series, but the ball movement, and I don't want to sit here and say, because I do not believe it, that the Celtics are a better team without Jason Tatum. Of course that's not true. We're talking about a top 5 player when healthy in the NBA, at least pre this ruptured Achilles. However, sometimes, hear me out, sometimes, Joe, the ball movement gets a little stuck with Tatum. They get into hero ball. They get into too much isolation. The ball movement dies. You get too many threes with like 18 seconds left on the shot clock, as opposed to maybe looking for the best opportunity. That's not a regular occurrence. We're still talking about a team that won 60-plus games, but it does happen every once in a while. And so the fact that in Game 5 on Wednesday, we didn't see any of that, and the ball movement was just... it was immaculate. It was like what we were watching the 86 Celtics or something like that. They were spreading the ball around so well and getting such crisp, wide open opportunities that, I've flipped here a little bit to where, I do think it's actually repeatable, not once, but twice. And obviously, if they get a game 7 back at home, truly anything is possible at that point. But this is a tough game that you have to win on the road first. But it bears reminding people, one, the Celtics had a better win percentage without this year without Jason Tatum, and 2, they were a historically good road team. So absolutely, they are live to come up with the short upset and win this game.
So let's talk about some of the guys that are going to have to show up big again, if that's going to be the case. Is it just all the eggs in the brown basket, or do some of these guys, these role players have to step up and get it done? Who are you focusing on here tonight?
Jaylen Brown had an exceptional Game 5, probably his best game of this particular postseason, which, really, I guess doesn't say much because he had not had a very good series coming into that one. I don't want to go back to him. That's not me, necessarily fading him or thinking that he's going to have a bad game. I just think role players for this Boston team are going to be so incredibly important, as they were in the latest game. And Derek White, we've seen it throughout this series, most especially obviously in Game 5. He's going to be shooting. He's going to be shooting from distance. I would go over, maybe with some trepidation because the line is climbed. Now we're looking at 20.5 versus, 17.5, 18.5. I still think that he is live to go over that number. The guy that I want to play with no hesitancy whatsoever, Peyton Pritchard. 15-plus points, over 14.5 for Peyton Pritchard, for a guy that took 17 shots last game, and 14 of them were from long range, mostly wide open looks that the Knicks were basically daring him to shoot. You dive into the numbers this year, and in 10 games, and this is pre-playoffs, 10 games without Jason Tatum, Peyton Pritchard averaged 19 points per game, and in this most recent game scored 17, so just barely hit the over. I think the role players are the way to go, and it's those two. The guys who the shot volume is going to be there, and Brown is not going to hesitate to feed them the ball when there is an open look, which there are going to be. The Knicks have let up a lot of open threes here in this series. It's what they do. They're not worried about defending the perimeter. They are daring Boston to shoot. Didn't go well games 1 and 2, but ever since then, generally speaking, it has. And I think those are the guys, White and Pritchard especially, that I'd be looking to overs for tonight.
It feels like this is because we've gotten nothing but over money from the 208.5 when it opened, and now we're up to even almost 212. The over money continues to pour in, but game 6s in elimination spots have always historically in the playoffs been unders. You got to win with defense at some point here. So if it feels like if Boston wins, we're looking at the over. If the Knicks win, we're looking at the under. Is that how you correlate it?
Yeah, it's what we talked about on Wednesday, and I think the same thing holds true. You know, Boston cruised past its team total in Game 5, went for almost 130 points, obviously got to the over with ease, and I think, again, if you are someone who is willing to back Boston, or at the very least believes Boston in a competitive game, right? The Celtics keep it close, even if maybe they don't win, but you think that ultimately this comes down to the wire. I think the over's the only play. If you think the Knicks are going to win this thing going away, maybe it's a 7, 12, whatever point win for New York in this one in a home game to close out Boston, I would look toward the under because it just means the Celtics, they couldn't shoot.
Right. Well, and that's always the fear backing the Celtics, right? What's their second pitch? If the fastball ain't working, do they have a pitch that can get the guy out? And it's been live by the 3 or die by the 3 so far in this series. 22 of them, they made 22 of 49 in Game 5 at home. If they hit anywhere even remotely close to that many, my goodness, are they going to go way over their team total as well? When we get back, I want to ask Adam about the other very important game coming up, a Game 7 tomorrow as Game Time Decisions continues on the grid.
Your college performance does not relate to the National Football League. It never does.
They played side by side with each other, and he wasn't as good as Quinn Ewers. That's an issue. That's a major issue.
It wasn't that it wasn't as good as Quinn Ewers.
Ever got to Texas?
It wasn't that it wasn't as good as Quinn Ewers. It was Quinn Ewers' program, which Steve Sarkisian made very clear the entirety of the time that Arch Manning was in Austin. So for you to argue that because Ewers is a 7th-round pick, Arch Manning is not that good and not deserving of being first overall is asinine. It is wrong. It is incorrect.
He's going to be number 1 overall. My whole thing was I'm buying
you're doing your thing now where you double down on a take that is incorrect.
The best quarterback prospect to ever hit college football can't play.
He's
over
not
a 7th-round
There were
pick
two
who didn't even
perfectly
play
rated
good.
quarterbacks in the history of the sport.
Quinn Ewers couldn't even play at Ohio State. He couldn't even play at Ohio State.
Quinn Ewers. Go look it up.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. I want this to be the place that people come to. There is going to be an energy to Game Time Decisions that you will feel night in and night out. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune in to Game Time Decisions weekdays on SportsGrid.
All right, welcome back in Game Time Decisions here on this Friday as we're getting ready, top of the hour for Game 6, Madison Square Garden. As the New York Knicks trying to do something they have not done in quite some time, and that is get to a conference finals there with an opportunity to play for an NBA championship. Adam Kaufman in the house with us here. And listen, we talked about Pritchard. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. He's got to be big here tonight for them, certainly point-wise. It feels like him getting more than 15 points should not be an issue here. But Brunson has got to be the guy again for New York, right? So we got to center ourselves on figuring out how do you bet Jalen Brunson in this game? Is there a good way to do it?
So I think either you're not playing him or you're playing his points over. It's one or the other. You're not going near an under for Jalen Brunson. And I would be inclined, and I have, to play the over on points for Brunson. Again, this is a massively important game for New York. You just alluded to it. The Knicks, they don't reach the Eastern Conference Finals. This just, in this day and age, that doesn't happen. And this is obviously an iconic franchise with an excellent player, clutch player. We've seen some incredible closeout moments from him throughout his postseason career, definitely throughout this postseason. You saw what he did last time around in the previous round against the Pistons. I think he has a very big game tonight, especially if you are a believer in the Knicks. You know, you probably like him to go for, I don't know, 40, 45. But I'll tell you what, in 11 career games after a playoff loss, I was reading this earlier, Brunson is averaging about 35 points per game. And in his game 6 career as a Knick, in 6 game 6s, I believe it is, he is averaging about 38.5 points per game. So again, when his prop is sitting at 29.5, 30.5, over is the only play for Brunson. And it's a little narrative street too, but again, I'm good with that. You're talking about the best player on a team that is got to be feeling a little bit of pressure right now, Joe. You know, they thought they were going to go to Boston, close this thing out. Jason Tatum is unavailable that night and clearly for the rest of the series, if not all of next season for that matter. And, you know, you haven't been there. You need to lean on your best player. It's not going to be Towns or, you know, Hart or Bridges or any of these guys that explode for, you know, 30 plus points. It has to be Brunson that gets you over the hump if it's going to happen.
It's got to be. And listen, we were mentioning it earlier. Porzingis is just a hot mess. He's been absolutely useless to them. And all of a sudden, here comes Luke Cornett there off the bench in that game 5 and plays a huge role for them, Adam, in the second half. Defensively, offensively, what do we need him to do here tonight? What's the best way of approaching him? Because he's going to get some minutes if Porzingis is coming off the bench.
So I'll hat tip to my buddy Prop Bomb, who shouted this play out to me. I thought it was a great look, and that's over 1.5 blocks for Luke Cornett because, again, you just alluded to it. The playing time was there in this most recent game. 26 minutes. He had 7 blocks. 7, Joe. Now, I'm not saying I expect him to have 7 blocks again. And fair, you know, like it's worth mentioning, he has not exceeded 1 block in any of the other games in this series, but the minutes were not there. 17, 18, 10, 8 before that 26 spot when he had the 7. But more to the point, Kristaps Porzingis, you know, he only played in the first half of the last game. He was terrible, mind you. Joe Mazzulla, the head coach, said post-game he couldn't breathe out there, and that's why they didn't play him. He's just not right. He's dealing with, you know, the bubonic plague or whatever it is that he has, and he hasn't been right throughout this postseason. This, you know, sidelined him for an almost 10-game stretch in March. He's not himself. He's not what the Celtics saw in the postseason last year or when he was right this year. So fine, you adjust. And Cornett has been excellent. I mean, Porzingis in the previous game was a minus 12 in as many minutes. Cornett was a plus 20-something in his 26 minutes. Keep riding the guy that is impactful out there on the floor, especially on the defensive end. So again, am I chasing points, even rebounds with Cornett? I'm not. But 1.5 blocks, for sure, I'm taking the over.
I mean, Porzingis averaging 4 points. It's just absolutely, and it's amazing to me. So you really not only did you lose Tatum, but for the most part, you lost Porzingis too for whatever reason with the not being able to. It's crazy, and yet here they are in a game 6 tonight at Madison Square Garden with an opportunity to get it back home, and then at that point, anything is possible here. All right, so if the Celtics win a game 7, we got one tomorrow. Denver, OKC. Who you leaning towards? Outright win.
I just don't see. Yeah, I don't see how you don't take Denver. I'll be honest with you. Again, it'd be fun to see the Thunder win. You know, they got this huge window in front of them, but championship experience, best player in the world, a team that does not relent late. Nikola Jokic and the Nuggets in Game 7.
Appreciate it, Adam Kaufman. Game Time Decisions continues here on the Grid.
your college performance does not relate to the National Football League. It never
They
does.
played side by side
Yes.
with each other, and he wasn't as good as Quinn Ewers. That's an issue. That's a major issue.
It wasn't that it wasn't as good as Quinn
they've ever
Ewers.
got to Texas.
It wasn't that it wasn't as good as Quinn Ewers. It was Quinn Ewers' program, which Steve Sarkisian
Why
made
would it be
very
Quinn
clear
Ewers'
the entirety of the time that Arch Manning was in Austin. So for you to argue that because Ewers is a 7th-round pick, Arch Manning is not that good and not deserving of being first overall is asinine. It is wrong. It is
I just
incorrect.
told you he's going to be number 1 overall. My whole thing was I'm buying
you're doing
him
your
because
thing now
I
where you
expect him to
double
have a
down on a
decent
take
season. No, I'm
that
not
is
doing that.
incorrect
The
when I
best
show it's
quarterback
incorrect.
prospect to ever hit college football can't play
He's
over a
not, though.
7th-round
There were
pick
two
who didn't even
perfectly
play
rated
good.
quarterback
Stop
recruits
it.
in the history
Stop
of the
it.
sport.
Quinn
Vince
Ewers couldn't
Young
even play at
and
Ohio
Quinn
State.
Ewers.
He couldn't even play at
Vince
Ohio
Young
State.
and Quinn Ewers. Go look it up.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. I want this to be the place that people come to. There is going to be an energy to Game Time Decisions that you will feel night in and night out. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune in to Game Time Decisions weekdays on SportsGrid.
All right, welcome back in. Game Time Decisions here on the SportsGrid Network on this crazy Friday here as we've got the playoffs coming up, NHL and NBA top of the hour. We got plenty of Major League Baseball going on. And in that battle in Boston with Atlanta, what a pitching battle. Chris Sale taking on Garrett Crochet, and they just went back-to-back on Crochet there, 2 solo home runs with Olsen and Murphy. It's now 2-0 there. And I know our next guest is going to be very happy to hear that the Reds just cleaned it, and it is done. 5-4. Reds take that game against Guardians in this Battle of Ohio, Mark Zinno, if you can believe that. Who knew there was such a thing? Who really wants to win that? But the Reds did, man, and you got yourself a big winning play there. So not a bad way to start off on a Friday. Looking to be speechless. He's speechless right now because the Reds actually had a bullpen that did not blow, although they tried very hard as the Guardians had an opportunity in the top of the 9th to get it done, but they could not there. So 5-4 is your final there. 2-0. Again, Atlanta jumped all over Crochet in that second inning. Unbelievable right there. So bottom of the second now, Boston, Chris Sale on the mound. That total in-game up to 9.5. It closed 8. You figured you'd get a pretty good pitching duel there, but a couple of solo home runs have thrown that number all out of whack right now. No score with the Yankees and the Mets. Still 0-0 in that one as they are heading to the top of the second inning. Also, Miami jumped all over Taj Bradley. They got 1 run there. They are in the bottom of the second in that 1-0 game. Also, I believe a solo home run for the Detroit Tigers is what's given them a 1-0 lead over Toronto. Flaherty on the mound for Detroit in that one. And Zinno seems to have caught his breath because, again, that Reds bullpen didn't blow it. They got it done, Zin, so kudos. But the Battle of Ohio, game 1 goes to Cincinnati in that spot there.
Yeah.
So pretty good win for them.
Yeah, I was kind of surprised that Cincinnati was a dog in this spot. Tanner Bybee has been awful, especially on the road. He had an ERA over 6, 7 of the 9 home runs he gave up were on the road this year. And even at that, you were able to, and I took the +1.5. Granted, it was like -145, but I just couldn't resist in that spot thinking that there was a team that I thought should have been favored, and I could get under 150 for the +1.5, which is the best bet you can make in baseball. So I had a little bit of wiggle room, but I started to get a little bit nervous when they hit that home run in the 8th to make it 5-4. I'm going, it's probably a little bit tighter than I wanted it to be. So nonetheless, I was fairly happy.
Yes, Reds get it done. Coming up, too, in just about 5 6 minutes. The two, I didn't see myself saying this, but two of the hottest teams in Major League Baseball, with the Cardinals taking on the Royals and Palante taking on Reagans there. I mean, who'd have thunk it? These two teams over the last 2.5, 3 weeks have racked up the wins here. What do we get in this one tonight?
Well, the Cardinals are in that anti-swagger spot, right? They just had their long winning streak snapped, right? And so now you kind of play against them in this like letdown spot, where they just finally, the streak's over. Now we can relax a little bit. We don't have the pressure of trying to win another game. And you get a quality starter in Reagans on the mound, who is the Royals' best option when it comes to, them winning baseball games here. So, and Reagans has been another guy that when you look at, his numbers, he's been a little bit more consistent at home over the course of his career. But this is a Royals lineup now that's finally starting to come around, particularly at home. So Payante could be a little bit unreliable. I like the Royals in this spot. Don't love them, but I certainly would back them.
I don't know what to do with the Twins. They've won 11 in a row, but they just lost two of their starters. They are Correa and Buxton, I believe, not in this one. But they do have Joe Ryan on the mound here tonight. If it ain't broke, are we fixing it with the Twins, or what are you thinking?
No, I mean, look, it's hard to get involved in a streak at this point, right? You don't want to bet against them unless you really have a situation where they're facing a high-quality starter on the road and things of that nature. I don't know that really manifests itself here with Chad Patrick on the mound. A guy with a whip of 1.25 means he's got 14 walks this year. Those are bigger numbers than you want it to be to try to trust Milwaukee here. I mean, I feel like an over is a decent play. But again, it's Joe Ryan on the mound, right? So you're getting a little bit of a lower number. If the Twins are going to lose this streak, it's probably going to be because they get banged around. A starter gets banged around early. And I think, with their bats, the way they've been heating up as of late, with a lower number at 7.5, take a gamble and take the over.
Houston and Texas, what a game. What an old-fashioned pitcher's battle that was with DeGrom last night on the mound. What are we going to get tonight? Eovaldi versus McCullers Jr., and the total seems to be coming down. I think we're at 8 now. What do you think we're going to get here?
I mean, it's really hard to bet against Nate Eovaldi, right? I mean, that's just the reality of it. But you have a spot here where you can take the Astros with the plus 1.5 at a decent number at minus 125. I mean, do you trust McCullers? That's really what it boils down to, making just his third start of the year. He had one really bad start and one really good start against the White Sox. I mean, last time out against the Reds, he only lasted a third of an inning, gave up 7 runs, and he wasn't any good. So if he can get through 5 here and against a lineup like Texas that just doesn't hit, right? Like, that's the other thing about this. You're looking at a lower scoring game. The plus 1.5 seems pretty appetizing with Houston.
And I guess certainly if it ain't broke, we ain't getting in front of it, right? The Dodgers taking on, the Angels here. It just feels like another over. Should we just keep betting runs, and more runs here in this spot? 9.5 is the total.
I mean, again, with the Dodgers here, Jack Kochanowski here is one of the worst FIPS in all of Major League Baseball. So the guy who's 5.23 ERA isn't even as good as what the analytics say it should be. It's really tough. With the Angels bullpen here, I probably would go to the Dodgers team total. However, you have to deal with the fact that it's going to be 5, at least, if not 5.5. And the Dodgers are likely getting one less at bat. So you're in a fairly unbettable spot here with Los Angeles, unless you're willing to lay a 2.5, which I'm not doing. You and I talked about that with the Rockies. I'm not going to lay that kind of number ever. So you have to just hope that the Dodgers end up scoring 6 runs here. Probably the only market I'd look to.
And your Knicks trying to close it out at the Garden here tonight. Are you a believer? Do they bounce back and get it done?
I took Boston's team total over. Felt like there were a couple of outs there. I mean, look, the thing here is this: it benefits the Knicks to play a lower scoring, more defensive game where both teams stay under 100. That benefits the Knicks. However, if the Celtics are making threes, guess what? The Knicks are going to have to score. It's one of those things where I think it's the Celtics in the over, the Knicks in the under. I lean Boston here. I wish I didn't have to, but there's an argument. Even without Tatum, they're a better team. And the Celtics know that they're going to have to make up for the loss of Tatum by doing it defensively. right? They're going to have to be able to slow the Knicks down and do it that way because they might not be able to score as much. All that said, if they're up to making threes again, I think we're going to get
And it's like the total has been nothing but bet up here. You know, I mean, it was 208.5 at the open. It's almost 212 now. If the Knicks win, are they scoring more than their team total as well?
I would think so, right? I absolutely would think so. But remember, the pressure was all on New York here. It's the biggest game in Madison Square Garden in a quarter century. You got the Yankees and Mets playing crosstown against each other. It's a chance to go to the Eastern Conference. The Knicks have an NBA record of lost 5 consecutive clinching games at home. That's an NBA record. They're going for number 6 here if they can't win this one. So, you know, all the pressure is on them to get it tonight because they know if they go back to Boston, odds are not going to be in their favor. And to be honest with you, I don't think the Knicks should have been favored tonight. Knicks +2, yes. You know, I didn't think the Knicks should have been a 2-point favorite.
Not with the way they played in that last game there. All right, Zeno, enjoy it, brother. We appreciate it. Game Time Decisions continues on the grid.
Your college performance does not relate to the National Football League. It never does.
They played side by side with each other, and he wasn't as good as Quinn Ewers. That's an issue. That's a major issue.
It wasn't that he wasn't as good as Quinn Ewers.
Ever got to Texas?
It wasn't that he wasn't as good as Quinn Ewers. It was Quinn Ewers' program, which Steve Sarkisian made very clear the entirety of the time that Arch Manning was in Austin. So for you to argue that because Ewers is a 7th-round pick, Arch Manning is not that good and not deserving of being first overall is asinine. It is wrong. It is incorrect.
He's going to be number 1 overall. My whole thing was I'm buying
you're doing your thing now where you double down on a take that is incorrect.
The best quarterback prospect to ever hit college football can't play.
He's not so. There were 2 perfectly rated quarterback recruits in the history of the sport.
Quinn Ewers couldn't even play at Ohio State. He couldn't even play at Ohio State.
Quinn Ewers. Go look it up.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. I want this to be the place that people come to. There is going to be an energy to Game Time Decisions that you will feel night in and night out. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune in to Game Time Decisions weekdays on SportsGrid.
All right, welcome back in Game Time Decisions as we're getting ready for a absolutely loaded slate here tonight. Plenty going on across the world of sports. And in fact, coming up here in just about 15 minutes, we will pass the baton off to our good friend Scotty Wetzel here for In-Game Live. As Scotty, I got to tell you, I'm looking forward to tonight. Elimination games in the NHL as well as the NBA. We got interleague matchups everywhere in Major League Baseball. Yankees and Mets no score right now. But in what world should the Baltimore Orioles ever have been a favorite? Outside of Colorado, why in the world were we laying money with Baltimore? Oh, by the way, is losing 1-0 already to the Washington Nationals. Like, what are we doing here, Baltimore?
Yeah. Are you on a great trend in that game, Joe? It's amazing.
Yes.
How about 16-2 under last 18 meetings between these two teams? And they were giving us 9 tonight. So 8.5, 9, depending where you did your shop. Yeah. How about 16-2? So it's 1-0 second inning. You get basically the same number right now, but I would be all over the under with that. They've beaten them 13 of 18, 13 and 5, but that's generally because Baltimore's been halfway decent the last few years. Washington hasn't. But yeah, over 6 and 15 their last 21 games, over 2 and 9 their last 11. Man, I don't think they're going to break out of it. I don't think they're very good. I just they've been doing it with smoke and mirrors the last couple of seasons. God bless them, right? But with the losses they had this postseason or this offseason with Burns and Santander, I just don't think that they're that good.
We did get one heck of a pitcher's battle last night with Houston and Texas. Speaking of unders here, Eovaldi on the mound going against McCullers Jr. Are we looking at an over or under in this one?
Well, listen, though, the way McCullers pitched his first game, right? I mean, he could give up 10 runs all by himself. The poor guy getting death threats and everything else. But I will tell you, trend-wise, 19 and 5 under now are the Rangers at home. In 24 home games this year, 19 of the number one under team overall, 30-14 and 1. But I can't bet an under in McCullers. It's funny the line's not bigger than what it is. He pitched so poorly because I would say lay Texas, and I would lay a run and a half, get it down to plus money with the Texas Rangers.
Why not? If it ain't broke, let's not fix it. Are you going to lay the $4 with Arizona tonight against Colorado? What are we doing there?
That's not even worth putting in a parlay, right? I mean, what is the point of that? No, we'll lay the run and a half. The numbers for Colorado, Joe. Listen, we do this all the time, but they're just comical. Arizona 7-1 against Colorado. Their last 8 games at home against them. Rockies 2-20 on the road this year. They're 1-11 their last 12. 4-25 their last 29. On and on and on. Worst record in baseball. You just got to keep on betting against them. There's a site I look at just for odds purposes, Offshore Book. They actually pulled the game for the first time this season. They actually pulled the game. When is an offshore site or any site for that matter pulling a baseball game? And they did. That tells you nobody's betting on Colorado. You just can't. So bet Arizona if you want to lay the run and a half. 18 of their 20 losses on the road have been by 2 runs or more. So don't be afraid to lay the run and a half.
Do not at all. A game we haven't talked about yet, which I think is going to be interesting, is the battle of, once was the Bay Area. Now it's Sacramento and San Francisco. But Oakland taking on the Giants. Giants are at home, I believe, in this one here. Yep. Webb is on the mound against Sears. Feels like a pretty good pitcher's battle.
Yeah, I mean, maybe we want to go under, but I'm going to play San Francisco just because Webb is on the hill. He has been unhittable this year at home. 2-0, Joe, with an ERA of 0.44 this year at home. And last year, while he was only 7-5, his ERA was under 3, 2.83 at home compared to over 4 on the road. So he does, for whatever reason, I mean, it's a pitcher's ballpark, but he does pitch extremely well at home. So give me San Francisco. That's why that number's as big as it is, because Sears is actually a halfway decent pitcher, and the A's are actually playing terrific baseball. Even got one from the Dodgers these last 3 games. So, but give me San Fran. I'll lay the run and a half with Webb on the hill.
Don't hate that at all. What are we doing with the Dodgers here, though? It just feels like all they do is score more than 9 runs. So why? I mean, they can go over themselves. Is this an over game in your mind with that bullpen of the Angels, or are you picking a side?
I'm going to go side, but I wouldn't be afraid of, little Dodgers and over parlay, right? You said it, man. Especially at home where the Dodgers bats are just really come to life. I know these last couple of games against Oakland, whatever you want to call them, Sacramento, Las Vegas, the A's, they really came alive. At home, 17-4 this year are the Dodgers. 14 of the 17 wins by 2 runs or more. LA 5-14 their last 19. They've lost 11 of their last 12 road games. I mean, just in the series, the Dodgers have beaten them 19 of 24. 17 of those 19 wins by 2 runs or more. Take the Dodgers, lay the run and a half, and this has got 6-2, 7-3 written all over it, Joe.
All right, so we've got 2 game 6s. Will there be a game 7 in the NBA or NHL here, Scotty?
No and no. I heard you talking with Mark. I could not disagree more. There is no way in the world the Celtics are winning tonight. No way. I don't know which one I give a better chance, Toronto or Boston, but I don't think either one really is. I mean, Peyton Pritchard is not going for 15+. Luke Kennard is not going, or Cornette is not going for 10+. Derek White, I love him, but he's not going for 38 plus. And you got Porzingis, who's a shell of himself. He's not. Who's going to step up on the road, Joe? Nobody. Last game was just a throwaway game. You know, we see it 1,000 times in the postseason. Teams up 3-1, road 5 on the road. Forget about it. You don't care about it because you know you're going to play better at home. I would have rather, as a Celtic fan, I would have rather had the Celtics win between 5 and 10 points. Take the Knicks' best shot, beat them, and then say, okay, you know what? We could beat them. But they didn't take the Knicks' best shot. The Knicks threw the game away. They didn't care. So I would be shocked. I love New York tonight. They're going to beat the Celtics. Line's up to 3. Funny, the money line remains the same, -146, but the line is up to 3. I think the Knicks win by double digits. I really do. And I love Toronto or Florida. How can you bet Toronto, right? The Maple Leafs at this point. Great stat. Austin Matthews, 10 playoff games, Joe, against the Panthers, 10. He's got no goals. No goals in 10 playoff games against Florida. Bet his under a half a goal or half a point.
It's like the definition of insanity, Scott. We see it all the time, and we're expecting a different outcome. Like, what are we doing here? We'll see you shortly here, Scotty. Game Time Decisions. We'll wrap it up next here on the Grid.
Your college performance does not relate to the National Football League. It never does.
They played side by side with each other, and he wasn't as good as Quinn Ewers. That's an issue. That's a major issue.
It wasn't that it wasn't as good as Quinn Ewers.
Ever got to Texas.
It wasn't that it wasn't as good as Quinn Ewers. It was Quinn Ewers' program, which Steve Sarkisian made very clear the entirety of the time that Arch Manning was in Austin. So for you to argue that because Ewers is a 7th-round pick, Arch Manning is not that good and not deserving of being first overall is asinine. It is wrong. It is incorrect.
He's going to be number 1 overall. My whole thing was I'm buying
you're doing your thing now where you double down on a take that is incorrect.
The best quarterback prospect to ever hit college football can't play.
He's
over
not
a 7th-round
There were
pick
2
who didn't even
perfectly
play
rated
good.
quarterback recruits in the history of the sport.
Quinn Ewers couldn't even play at Ohio State. He couldn't even play at Ohio State.
Quinn Ewers. Go look it up.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. I want this to be the place that people come to. There is going to be an energy to Game Time Decisions that you will feel night in and night out. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune in to Game Time Decisions weekdays on SportsGrid.
All right, welcome back in Game Time Decisions here on the SportsGrid Network as we are getting ready for an epic night across the board, and it's all going to start in just about 6 minutes or so. Good news is you don't have to go anywhere. We've got you covered here as in-game live with Scott Wetzel, Dave Sherapan coming up here in just a couple of minutes, getting ready for that Game 6, Madison Square Garden, as the New York Knicks taking on the Boston Celtics. Can the Celtics get it back to a Game 7 here tonight? I have a hard time trusting the New York Knicks here in this game, but history tells us in a Game 6 situation like this, the opportunity, there's going to be some defense, and the Knicks got to see this new lineup that Boston threw out there And listen, they got to make the adjustments. I think this has got absolute rock fight written all over it. I don't agree that this thing is going to be flying over the total. I'm on the under 211 and a half here. I just don't think that this is the direction we're going to go in back-to-back games. I think defense has to win a game for both these teams here tonight. And if that's the case, I don't think they're going to make 54% of their shots and 22 from three. I think Boston regresses here a little bit here tonight. This thing keeps it under the 211.5. Not to mention, there were over 45 whistles in that game 5. The free throws were over the top in game 5. I don't think the whistle is blowing. In an elimination game, I think they let him play. I think this is going to be an absolute rock fight. And as far as the NHL goes, will there be a Game 7 in Toronto? Again, definition of insanity is continuing to hope for the same thing while we're watching it unfold in real time in front of us. It's purely insanity to think that somehow, after the sample size that we have seen here, that this is any different than what it has been over the last, 12 decades with Toronto. I'm not buying it. I've seen this version of the Panthers before. They are getting better. They're getting stronger. The longer the series goes, the more opportunities it gives them to adjust and to just basically suffocate you. And I think that's exactly what's going to happen here again tonight. I did take the Panthers team total over 3.5 goals. They have scored 4 or more, I think, in every game that they have bounced back on in this series, and starting with that game 3. I think the same thing happens here tonight. So we've got plenty going on. It is the do or die spot for the Celtics and the Toronto Maple Leafs here tonight, and we will have everything you need right here on the SportsGrid Network. In-game live is coming up, not to mention we got Game 7s over the weekend between Denver and the Oklahoma City Thunder. How much fun is that going to be? The Preakness, the second leg of the Triple Crown at Pimlico will take center stage tomorrow. And again, beginning right around noon, we'll have you covered with more in-game live game day and the third round of the second major of the season on the PGA Tours. The PGA Championship is underway at Quail Hollow, and guess who is lurking? Yeah, no, it ain't Rory McIlroy. It is good old Scotty Scheffler, who is sitting comfortably about 3 shots off the lead here today. Jonathan Vegas was the first round leader. He was 1 under today. He leads the tournament at -8. Matthew Pavone, former champion Matt Fitzpatrick, Siwoo Kim, all at 6 under. And then you've got Max Homa, Scotty Scheffler, just to name a few, just a couple of shots behind that. It is going to be an epic weekend, certainly with the second major that eyes are going to be on. And don't sleep on good old Bryson DeChambeau. Was 3 under here today. He's just 5 shots off the lead, tied for 17th. Could he make the move on Saturday and find himself in contention on Sunday again? Yes, it is going to be an awful lot of fun watching all of this unfold here tonight. But get ready for it. It's going to start at Madison Square Garden with the Knicks and the Celtics. And then in Sunrise, Florida, when the puck drops between Toronto and the champion Florida Panthers. Buckle up. It's going to be an awful lot of fun here tonight. I believe we got plenty more Major League Baseball games, too, coming up out on the West Coast, and a rivalry week of sorts. Enjoy it. And don't go anywhere, though, as In-Game Live with Scotty Wetzel coming up next here on The Grid.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of